Tonight, somewhere in a garage, someone is staring at a BMW engine bay and asking a dangerous question. How far can this thing really go? Not 400 horsepower, not 600, not even 800. A B58, the same inline six found in the Supra and BMW M340i, can be pushed to ridiculous numbers. 1,000 horsepower, 1,200 horsepower, even 1,300 horsepower. And the crazy part? It didn't start life as an exotic motorsport engine. It started as a smooth, reliable, daily driver 6-cylinder. So, how do you take something built for commuting and highway pulls and turn it into something that makes supercars look slow? It starts with one thing: air. An engine is basically an air pump. More air means more fuel. More fuel means more power. That's the simple version. But 1,300 horsepower is not simple. At stock power, the B58 uses a single turbocharger. It's efficient, responsive, and perfect for the street. But at 1,300 horsepower, the stock turbo is not even part of the conversation. You need a turbo big enough to move a massive amount of air, something that looks less like a car part and more like industrial equipment. But a big turbo alone doesn't make 1,300 horsepower. That's where people get it wrong. If you bolt a giant turbo onto a stock engine and just turn up the boost, you don't build a monster. You build a grenade. The real secret is controlling pressure, heat, fuel, and timing all at the same time. At this level, the engine needs stronger internals, forged pistons, forged rods, better bearings, and stronger head studs. Because inside the cylinder, every combustion event becomes violent. The piston is being forced downward harder than the original engine was meant to handle. And this is where the B58 becomes interesting. The block is strong. The crank is strong. The closed deck design helps it survive high cylinder pressure. BMW accidentally created one of the best modern tuning platforms in the world. But even a strong engine has limits, so the build becomes a system. The turbo feeds the air. The fuel system feeds the fire. The cooling system fights the heat. The ECU tries to keep everything alive. And the tuner stands between horsepower and a very expensive failure. At 1,300 horsepower, pump fuel is not enough. You need high-octane fuel, ethanol blends, race fuel, or methanol. Because the higher the boost goes, the more the engine wants to knock. And knock is the killer. You don't always hear it, you don't always feel it, but inside the engine, knock is like hitting the piston with a hammer at the wrong time. That's why tuning matters so much. Not Instagram tuning, real tuning. Boost by gear, ignition timing, fuel pressure, air-fuel ratio, torque limits, traction control, transmission protection. Every number matters. And then there's the drivetrain, because making 1,300 horsepower is one problem. Putting it to the ground is another. The factory gearbox was never designed for this. The clutch packs need upgrading. The drive shafts need help. The differential becomes a weak point, and the tires become a joke. At this power level, first gear is almost useless. Second gear is a negotiation. Third gear is where the car finally starts to understand what's happening. And by fourth gear, you're no longer driving a normal car. You're managing a missile. But here's the part most people don't understand. A 1,300 horsepower B58 is not just a tuned BMW. It is basically a race car wearing street car skin. The idle may be rough. The turbo may lag. The car may run hot. Parts wear faster. Maintenance becomes constant. And every pull becomes a test of the entire build. Because 1,300 horsepower exposes everything: a weak fuel pump, a bad injector, a slipping clutch, a poor tune, a cheap sensor, even a tiny leak. At 400 horsepower, those problems are annoying. At 1,300 horsepower, they can destroy the engine. So, when you see a B58 making insane power on a dyno, remember this. You're not looking at one modification. You're looking at hundreds of decisions. The turbo, the fuel, the engine build, the cooling, the ECU, the transmission, the tires, the tuner, the owner's budget, and probably their patience. Because power is easy to talk about, but reliability is where the truth lives. Anyone can say 1,300 horsepower. Very few can build it, run it, and keep it alive. That's what makes the B58 special. With the right parts, the right fuel, and the right tuning, this smooth German inline six can become one of the most terrifying street engines on the planet. A grocery getter engine turned into a supercar killer. And the next time you see a quiet M340i or Supra sitting at a traffic light, remember, under that hood might be a normal daily driver, or it might be one turbo spool away from 1,300 horsepower.